Mike Siver on the Mike Siver Show, and with my special guest, Carrie Sluter. And we were talking about environmental awareness and babies and people being sponges and absorbing their environment. And during the break, Carrie and I were talking about behaviors and beliefs versus behaviors. And there's a chapter in the book called When Belief Becomes a Behavior, or when behavior becomes a belief, then your belief can become a behavior. And an example I use of that is little babies. When they're hungry, they can't talk, so they cry. And they cry or make noises to get fed.
Right.
If they're messy and their bottom hurts, they cry to get that pain relieved or their diaper changed. They only make sounds. They make noises. And they do that until they learn how to talk. And until they can ask for whatever they want. But if they've learned and not been trained that if I scream and holler, I'll get what I want. And that's okay when you're a baby. But when you're 2 years old, 1 year old, and 3 years old, and 4 years old, and you've learned that screaming and tantrum, I get what I want, now that is a belief. You believe that as a child. Mm-hmm. And the behavior you demonstrate because you believe that gets what you want. Mm-hmm. And parents don't realize what they're doing. They're creating a monster. And it's very, very difficult to reverse that.
But it's also easy to let it happen.
Oh yeah, very simple.
Really easy. It's all of a sudden you have a 3-year-old that's screaming out and pointing at something. It's like, no. That is not going to get you what you want. You can talk. Now you tell me what you want. We have to stop and put those things in check before they become a bad habit.
And you see little kids, 2, 3, 4 years old, throwing a tantrum in the supermarket.
Yep.
Because they believe they're going to get what they want.
Usually because the parents don't know how to deal with
Yep.
the on-the-spot, you are not getting it. Just holler and scream all you want to because they're concerned about the environment around them, who's looking on, thinking you're a bad parent because your kid's screaming.
Yep.
But so we're creating, like you said, creating monsters.
Yep.
When you give in to it and you don't just deal with it, take them by the hand, stop your shopping, take them out to the car, and say, fine, there's this, but not to give into it so that those behaviors can become.
Well, I remember the last time I threw a tantrum. And I remember this. When I was a young kid in a store. It was in Holland, Michigan. Mm-hmm. It was in a drugstore.
Right.
And I wanted something. I forget what that was. It was a toy or a book or something. I wanted it, and I was going to have it. That's all there was to it. My mom said, no, I'm not going to have it. So I started my tantrum business, my screaming and hollering and kicking and stuff, and she finally got me out the door, and I'm laying on the sidewalk in front of the store, laying down, kicking and hitting and screaming because I want this. And you're a bad mom, and I hate you, and all this kind of stuff. And next thing I know, it gets quiet. And I look up, and all these people staring at me, leaning over, staring at me, and my mom is calling them to come and watch me throw a tantrum. She said, come and watch Michael throw a tantrum. Michael, come on, keep going, throw your tantrum. Come on, kick the ground and hit the ground and throw your tantrum and scream. Because all these people are watching you. And give them a good show. I didn't know what to do. Do I carry on or do I get up and run away?
Right.
So I just shut up and got up and cried and left, but I never threw a tantrum again.
Right.
Because that was a new one on me.
And it didn't get you what you wanted.
And I did not get what I wanted.
You didn't like the result of what it did get you.
And the consequences were not what I wanted.
Right.
Definitely not what I expected.
Right.
But it taught me a lesson. And one that was impactful right then at that moment. Where she learned that from, I have no idea. But I know I grew up with 6 brothers and sisters, and none of us threw tantrums. I knew that. We have to learn as parents how to deal with that. And like we said in the last show, set boundaries. You can get this. And when I do family counseling and stuff, I try to get parents to remove the word punishment from their vocabulary. We've talked about this
It's a
before.
consequence.
It's just a consequence.
It's a consequence for the choice
There's-
they made.
There's good consequences and bad consequences, and if you, as parents, just remove that word punishment
Right.
and say the consequences for your action are this,
Right,
the consequences for you going to work is you get a paycheck.
right,
Consequences for you emptying the garbage every day for a week, you get something,
Right.
whatever it might be you agree upon. The consequences are if you don't get it.
right,
And that's why I also ask parents to remove, like I said, remove the word punishment, but they win and they lose. You get and you lose. You earn and you lose. So if children
Right.
do what they have to do, they've earned the right for something.
right,
If they don't do what they're supposed to do, they lose the right for something. Parents need to learn to stop taking away. I'm going to take away your right to the TV. I'm going to stop. That's a power play.
yep,
That's parents being power and control over their children. At some point, that's needed to get respect. But at the same time, if children earn and children lose, they understand that really fast.
I just had the experience of that just in the last couple of days with my stepdaughter, or my foster daughter is kind of lacking in school. She's wanting to pay more attention to other people's business
Right.
instead of getting her schoolwork done. Parent-teacher conference, I find this out, and the teacher says, well, she's pretty busy, body, and everybody else's business, and she's not, not finishing her work. So immediately, I did exactly what you said, is she gets to take a toy or a doll or a stuffed animal to school for her nap because she's she's first grade.
Mm-hmm.
So the teacher allows them to bring an animal or a toy to school with them. Well, you haven't earned the right to take a toy to school with you. Until you do better at this, you can't take one again. You earn that back to
Right.
be able to do that. And I'll tell you, I walked up there today and she had a really good day. And she said, I'm going to have lots of them, because she has to earn back the right to take something to school. Until you can pay attention, you're paying too much attention to this, you're not paying attention to your schoolwork. So it's a reversal way of using consequences. Consequences of your actions are you're not doing your homework. The consequences are you're not going to be distracted by toys and things that you take to school.
And you lose, you haven't earned.
You have lost that right,
Yep.
but you have to earn it back by getting back on track.
Yep.
And until you do, that won't happen again. Boy, it didn't take her but 2 seconds to
Yep.
figure out that if she wanted to take it back, she better get her stuff done. So it worked really well.
And it's a really positive way of changing behaviors.
Yes.
It's very positive, and there's no hitting, smacking, or anything involved in it.
No argument, no yelling or anything.
Yep.
Nothing. And they get it because it's all of a sudden my choice, the way that I reacted didn't get me what I wanted.
Yep.
That's not what I want. Something else that I had dealt with that reminded me of that when you said you were throwing me in a fit, the temper tantrum.
Mm-hmm.
When she first came with me, she just wail out and screaming like she was being tortured,
Right.
and agony, and it was so loud you couldn't hear yourself think. If she was in the corner, it was just so high pitched and
Right.
drama, just the drama in it. So anyways, I kept saying, stop it. I'm not going to listen to this. I tried, to get her to stop doing that. And she was so dramatic about this,
Right.
the punishment, and how it was just tearing her up and killing her. And I said, I'm not going to listen to it. Well, so instead, when I tried to correct it for a while, nothing worked. Well, one day she was doing this, and I said, you know what? The rest of the house isn't going to listen to this because you can control it. Nobody has hit you. You're not in pain. You're not hurting. You're just crying out, so we're not going to listen to it. I took her upstairs. Of course, I have on the other side of the house, way up top floor, there's a porch to set up. I just took her by the hand and said, follow me, come on. And I put her in the corner up there in the porch and closed the door. So the rest of the house didn't have to hear it. And as I was closing the door, I said, when you feel that you can stop that screaming, then you can come out, but not until. And I mean, three seconds after I got downstairs,
Yep.
she was, I'll stop, Mom, if you let me come down. I said, then stop. Don't ever do it again, because that's where you'll be. She's never done it since, because it didn't get her what she wanted. And I didn't fight her. She didn't win, and she didn't try to pull me to. She learned right then that I have a choice. This is the consequence of that choice.
Yep.
I'm going to make this choice. So she chose.
Now, there are some funny way parents have dealt with
Yeah.
the consequences of their
I
children.
didn't know what else to do. But it worked.
Well, I mean, that
Yeah.
works.
Uh-huh.
As long as the child wasn't in danger, or anything was going to happen to her,
No,
then
no.
that's fine. I mean, you didn't have to holler at her, scream at her, hit her, or anything else like that.
No.
And she understood that.
Right.
If my behaviors are causing me trouble, I need to stop
She
doing
doesn't
that.
want to be alone. She
No.
wanted attention.
Yep.
It got her the opposite.
Yep.
Because all she was after is everybody to feel bad for her
Yeah.
and the attention of everybody.
But that had worked in the past, or
Right.
she wouldn't believe it worked.
Right. Exactly. So,
That's a perfect example of what we talk about. But I remember I had a parent come to me one time and said that her her son was a slob. Well, most sons are slobs, but her son was a bad slob apparently. Left his clothes all through the house wherever he took them off, and wouldn't pick them up. And she kept telling him and telling him and telling him, and she'd pick it up. Well, first of all, she trained him
that she was going to pick it up.
that I'll pick it up. So you can
Even
leave
if
it.
I hollered at you.
And if I holler at you, nothing's going to happen. I'm just going to pick them up in the end. So I've trained you that's okay to do that.
Right.
But she wanted to stop that because she created the problem. So she wanted to figure out how to stop it. So she thought and thought and thought. She said, okay, I'm going to fix this. So he left all his stuff, wherever it was, around the house, on the floor of his room, everywhere. So when he went to school, as he was leaving, she said, you haven't picked your stuff up. Oh, I'll get it later. I'll get it later, which was always his answer. So when he went to school, she got a hammer and nails and went around the house and nailed everything he had to the floor. Everything that was on the floor was nailed to the floor, all throughout the house. And she just left it there and didn't even tell him to pick it up when he come home. But when he wanted it, he went to pick it up. It wouldn't come up.
Right.
It was nailed to the floor.
Okay.
He had to go with a hammer around the house and pick all his stuff up off the floor when he wanted it, because it was left there so when the guests come over, when people come over and his friends come over, all his stuff was scattered throughout the house, nailed to the floor. He felt like an idiot. And so he's feeling embarrassed. He had to get it off the floor. He had to use a hammer to do it, and he never did it again. But it was dramatic.
Yeah, I would say. I'm picturing my floors with nails in them.
Well, that's what she did, and
Yeah,
she was willing to pay the consequences for nail holes in her floor
Yep.
to teach him a lesson,
Right.
and it worked. Now, I didn't think of that. I wish I had thought of that to tell her,
Right.
but she came up with that by herself, and she was in a group with parents that I was working with, and she told that story. And I don't know how many of them went home and tried it, but I'm sure some of them did.
See, I use a black garbage bag. I'll just get a garbage bag and okay. I know, that's enough times and they don't get it back. They don't get it back.
Yep.
If, it's like, tie it up, give it away. You don't care about it, you don't appreciate it, respect it enough. They're going, where is this? I cleaned your room. You wouldn't. And I pay the consequence because they
Yeah.
don't have the stuff that I bought them,
But there's all kinds of different ways that
Different
parents
ways.
Parents have, and we tend to beat parents up on here sometimes,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit more than we should.
Well,
But-
it's not the intent.
I know it's not the intent of it, but I know some of them probably get a little defensive over some of the stuff we talk about. But there are a lot of good parents out there that have got really great strategies. And sometimes they write in and they call and they tell us, well, I've done this and I've done that, and it works well. Like that parent with the nailing close to the floor.
Right.
I'm not so sure I'd have done that, but she did.
Right,
And I don't remember if she was a single parent or not, but she was desperate.
right.
So she tried. Desperate people do desperate things. And she got real desperate, and it worked.
Right.
So when we talk about behaviors, and then we started talking about behaviors become belief. Well, most of the time, the behavior, that is demonstrated, the children believe it works.
Right.
They're convinced it works.
Uh-huh.
And it could be any number of behaviors, be lying, cheating, whatever they do, they got away with it. Otherwise, they wouldn't think it works. So until they get old enough where there's serious consequences for that behavior,
Right.
they start to believe that the behavior is not working. Once that new belief, as you and I talked about earlier, comes into effect, now there's a new behavior that
Right.
follows.
Well, and that can go the other way around too.
Yep.
When your beliefs become your behaviors,
Yep.
or your beliefs will become your behaviors.
Yep.
Because you change your way of thinking.
Yep.
Like with the foster child, coming in with a belief that this is normal. I mean, they don't know that they were living in a situation that was not normal.
Right.
So all of a sudden they come in and, well, we do things this way. And it's a routine and it's always done that way.
Yep.
And you start teaching them the why, because we want to have a nice clean house. And it makes it so much easier for the person that's doing dishes if everybody rinses off their dishes. So this is the way we do it. We don't just throw them in the sink. We do. So as she was learning that from me, she was developing a new belief
Yep.
that now becomes her behavior, because she gets up from the table and takes her dishes to the sink. And it has become a behavior, and she believes now that this is the right way of doing it.
Yep.
That's not, Daniel, you don't throw your stuff in the sink, and you have to rinse them off, So you're retraining the behaviors and the beliefs, and they can go either way.
Well, the positive thing about that is we talk about environmental awareness and environmental learning. Now you're training them with a new behavior
Right.
and a new belief system that they will pass on.
Right.
So hopefully, and we pray that when they have children, that they stay with that child
Right.
until the child grows up. They're going to have that behavior from the beginning.
Right.
They're going to have that belief on how to raise their children. They're going to know what works and what doesn't work because they've been on both sides of the coin.
And they're going to choose, yeah.
So they're going to know that choices are important and there's consequences and not punishment. They're going to know all this stuff, and it's the beginning of the it's a theory they have out there is the hundredth monkey syndrome. That if one monkey starts to wash a potato before he eats it, and then after a while another one will copy him and wash the potato, then another one will copy them too. When the 100th monkey does it, everybody does it. From that
Right.
point on, all the monkeys in the world will do it at the same time. When the 100th monkey does it.
Right.
So that's just a theory, the 100th monkey theory. But if we can get children, and we have to do it, to start understanding behaviors and belief, consequences for action, choices are important. Once they learn that and they learn it right, they pass it on.
Right.
And they pass it on, and they pass it on.
Consistency in a family and consistency in what we do is also so important
Oh,
to
yeah.
train the environment.
Yep.
Train the kids or the adults around you. Like you said, you have been the one that trained them that's
Yeah.
okay behavior.
Yep.
By giving into it, and the patterns and habits become what they believe is right, and it's automatic that way. There's not as much struggle. For example, the child all of a sudden sees one of the other kids doing something, and now I want to do that instead of what I was doing. You can actually have that child that you're going, oh, doesn't he do so great? And all of a sudden he's doing what the other kids did.
Yep.
Because he saw the other kids getting away with it.
Yep.
So having everything equal and always routine and pattern, this is the way we do things. When it comes time to eat, this is what we do. Even the infant, from the time you can set them in the chair, they're learning the behaviors from everyone in the environment.
Yep.
The-
Yeah.
And that becomes their belief, that this is how I get what I want. This is what I can do and what I can't do. They know the rules. If you never give them milk before they're done eating,
Yep.
all of a sudden, they may ask for it and cry for it. When you're done, you have to eat your food. You can't have more until you've eaten that, and you continue that. They will develop that pattern, that habit for life.
Yep.
And until something else comes along that changes that. And that could just be a sibling, a new foster child in a home.
Yep.
Because they see the new foster child getting away with something that, and it changes them because they're going, well, she didn't have to do it.
Yep.
And I saw a fight. She fought with her and argued
Yep.
and got what she wanted. You didn't make her do it. So then next thing you know, the other child is. A lot of times that's happened, and that happens with foster parenting.
Yep.
When you're combining two worlds of children. You have, these have a pattern. You have a pattern of way you do things with your children. And all of a sudden another one comes in the mix. The bad habits of the two can change the whole situation.
And that's another tough thing. We talk about foster parenting a lot, and that's another struggle, that the foster parents haven't got the training that the kids get. They don't get the counseling the kids get. And there's a saying, like, water always seeks the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
Well, so do children, so do parents.
Right.
So do adults.
Right. It's easier to just give in and say, okay, here, than it is to fight for an hour.
And
just argue.
Parents seek the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
So it's going to be easier just to give them what they want, stop the
Yeah.
screaming, stop
I
the
have laundry
fighting.
to do. We got to get dinner over with.
Yeah.
I've been there and done that, but I saw the change immediately. I'm
Yeah.
like, all of a sudden, I saw the behaviors of the 3-year-old change to the habits of the other one. Oh no, that's not happening. So
Yeah.
you stop and put everything else in check.
Yeah.
And bring that back.
And that's why we continually talk about parenting. Parenting is a job, and it is a hard job, and especially with single parents, as you're really aware of. And I was at a time a single parent with a 12-year-old daughter, just going through puberty in boys. I didn't know what hit me. I thought my whole world come to an end. I didn't know what to
Right.
do, but I learned really quick. But we had discipline, and we had consistency in the house, so part of it was easier. But for parents to, especially with foster parenting,
Right.
to have this awareness of the cause and effect of what happens when this doesn't happen or this does happen, with the long-term consequences of the children,
Right.
not the short-term.
Right.
The short-term is they want peace, they want quiet. That's going to cost you in the end.
Right.
It's going to cost you a lot in the end, and parents don't think like that. All they
Right.
want is quiet today.
Right, and that's what really is intriguing with the title of your book. Mike, I love the title of your book. What role did I play?
Yeah.
But me, the person that I am, that what role did I play in how you just acted? Oh, I allowed him to get away with that in front of you.
Yep.
So that was my role in that behavior.
Yeah, and it's
What role did I play in how you made that choice? We should always be checking our own choices and how we're handling things and what behaviors we have, because they're learning normally from the adult and other people in the environment.
yeah, but we don't.
No.
That's why I wrote the book. And
Well, that's why we're
yeah.
doing the show, so that we
Yeah.
can learn to, maybe I needed to start doing that. What
And we
role
can-
did I play
and we
in
can
my
pass
child's
this on,
behavior?
And
Yeah.
and pass this on, because we all play a role in everything we do.
Right,
And I do a lot of different kind of counseling, and one of my main questions throughout the counseling is, what role did you play to end up in this situation?
right.
Well, she made me do this, or he made me do that.
That's a big one.
No, nobody makes you do anything. It's a
Right. Mm-hmm.
choice. So what role did you? Now I'll ask you again. What role did you play, ending up in this situation?
Right,
Then the conversation starts. And it's the same with children.
yeah.
What role did you play? What are you doing to have these consequences positive, or have these consequences negative?
Well, it's just like, even in a marriage, Mike, it all starts with one thing happened.
Yeah.
It could have been one choice.
Yep.
One role that you played, one decision you made that, well, I need more attention, and, well, I have to work,
Yep.
and how dare you, the role in 6 months from now, that marriage being less
Yep.
concrete, can stem from that one thing. So that's where, what role did I play in where we're at today? Because it becomes a mountain of he said, she said, well, you caused me to, That was your fault that I did that. No, that's kind of like Adam blaming God because God gave him that woman.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't me, God, it was that woman that you gave me. So it's your fault, God.
Yeah.
You gave her to me, you know.
Well, that's the part we always do. And I work
Always
with,
the blame, yeah.
yeah, I work with parents a lot and different people. And if you backtrack enough with some honesty,
Yep. There's the key.
Yep.
You have to backtrack with total open honesty
Yep.
to look for even your own faults.
if you do that, you will
Not in
find the
search.
point.
Yep,
You will find
find
the
it.
point that it all started.
yep,
And then you ask, what role did you play in that? Then all of a sudden, a light goes on.
Right.
In almost everybody.
yep. You can search it back to, oh my gosh, I ignored that thing that I know I heard.
Yep.
I ignored it.
And then we get back to.
Or I didn't notice that, I didn't stop and correct it when I saw it 6
Yep.
months ago.
Yep.
And that's easy to do too.
And when I get adults to recognize this theory and this philosophy, and get them to start to assess themselves
Right,
and go back, now we talk about where did that thought process come from?
right,
What made it okay for you to think like that? Well,
Right.
now we go back further, and we
Right.
start to find out, well, my mom did this, or my dad did this.
Mm-hmm.
They allowed that to happen.
yep,
That's where it came from.
right.
Once we go back to that, and
It was,
believe me,
it was a belief
it
that
was-
became a behavior that went forward
Yep.
and caused a whole,
and this whole session, this all can be accomplished in about an hour.
right,
You don't need this, 10-year, hourly, weekly psychology thing going on.
nope,
You don't need that. You need some reality to address yourself, to address your issues, and be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Once that happens, wonders happen,
Mm-hmm.
miracles happen.
Well, and I think a big part of what we get to in that, Mike, is the old who, what, when, why,
Yep,
where.
yep.
The 5 W's. You take your life situation, and when you're looking for those, what role did I play? Or you're digging for the root cause of something.
Yep.
Or going back, you go, who started this? Where did it come from? Why did it happen? And you start searching through every question you can ask yourself. What did I do when that happened?
Yep.
You're using those and asking yourself questions. If you can answer it in truth,
Yep.
that, wow, I did ignore that. So that's the who, because it was me.
Yeah.
I'm the who, and what did I do? Well, here's what I did, or here's what they did that caused me to do that. And that's how you do that root.
Yeah.
To get to the root of the problem, you've just got to keep digging all the way back. You can't just start with, well, he said, she said, and he did this and it caused me to do that.
Right.
Or it's your fault because you did. There has to be that root search, and that's where counselors come in and searching what role did I play
Well,
to get you to those roots.
It's not to the point where we get to the adults and we got to beat the adults up for being
No, of
bad
course not.
parents.
No,
We don't do
but we're
that.
searching for answers
Yeah.
so that we can correct the new behaviors, become a new person.
Well, we're assisting them to find the answers.
Right,
And I find that's the way the counseling that I do,
Mm-hmm.
is assist them to find the answers. I think most counselors do that anyway.
right,
But-
that's what we do.
But in asking them to be honest with what role do they play, and then take it further back, and what impact now, what role are you playing in your children's life? What role are you playing, and what are they gonna end up like? Where are they gonna go, and then we start to talk about the adults' behaviors and what's being copied by the children.
Right,
And we've got a little less than a minute left to go on this
Okay.
show, so we're gonna have to look at winding this one up.
okay?
I've enjoyed this 2 sessions,
Yeah.
and we could probably do 2 more, but we're not going to tonight. So I want to thank you very much for being part of this show. It's been I hope people get a lot out of it.
Right,
I enjoy this, and it allows me to talk about stuff that I'm passionate about, and you as well, and bring all this to our attention. So with that, I'm going to say goodnight from Mike and Carrie, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.